Welcome to the Restitutor Orbis channel for Aurelian's Fair, the live stream event. It's really good to see everybody. Let's see what we've got so far. Hello, Tabor. Good to see you. Hello, OIC. Tristan Kane. Good to see you. Who else have we got? Jamie Griffin. Good to see you. Laura. Good to see you. Adam. Hello. Welcome. David P. Welcome. Hey, Tristan. Welcome. Well, thanks for that comment. Who else have we got? Go ahead and say hello at this time. Hey, Old World Georgia. Chassis Nix. Good to see you. Hey, Kathy. Welcome. And let's give everybody a chance to get logged in. Hey, Timothy, no worries. Hey, Y Superstars, welcome. All right, well, as everybody's getting logged in, the purpose of this live stream is we're going to take a look at the transition from Art Deco to Brutalist. Hey, Would-Be, welcome. Good to see you. So we're going to take a look at the transition from Art Deco to Brutalist and look to posit some theories on exactly why that transpired. We see the change in the buildings and we have to wonder why we went from more of an artistic style to the brutalist style. Is it something that's realistic or is it something else? Hey, what's our story? Welcome. Crypto Alchemist, good to see you. Hey, Kevin, welcome. Cod H. Cod, good to see you. Yeah, and it could well be the human try to replicate those styles, or there could be something real to it. But it's an interesting transition, and that's what we really wanted to take a look at. All right, well, without any further ado, as you log in, just go ahead and say hi. I'll see if I can acknowledge you at the same time, but we'll go right ahead to the presentation and not waste any time. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to share my screen, and you just let me know when you can see it. Okay, can everybody see my screen? Yeah, it's good to see you, Crypto. Hey, Vincent, good to see you. All right, can everybody see my screen? All right, perfect. So what we're looking at here is the original territorial capital. Hey, Adam Baum, good to see you. What's our real story? Peter, good to see you. So we're looking at the original territorial or the state capital from North Dakota in Bismarck. Now, this was supposedly built in 1883 to 1884 by an architectural firm out of Minneapolis, St. Paul, in Minnesota. North Dakota has an interesting story because it was very sparsely populated in the 19th century, and it only took 40 years, 1870 to 1910, to go from 2,000 people to 500,000 people. Hey, Jimmy, good to see you. Doreen, good to see you, if I'm saying, or Daorin Michael, if I'm saying that properly. So the reason we wanted to start with this is there's an interesting story with the state capital and what it evolved into. So we see in the picture here this classic old world building with this beautiful tower. Hey, M1, good to see you. Yeah, that's right. All those people from Fargo needed that. Yep. And remember, this was just the territorial state capital. It wasn't even a state until they had their state convention. We'll actually see a picture of it. So 1883, 1884, they built this. There are even some accounts that say that this was built by H.H. Richardson, our good friend who is known for a Richardsonian revival style. So yeah, exactly. Almost enough domes there, right? But there's a bit of a tragedy with this one. So anyway, when you look closely at it, you see your classic trappings there with the pediments, some of the pillars and the columns. And then, of course, you've got your basement windows here, bunch of domes. And then, of course, this very beautiful, magnificent tower with a cupola on top of it. So what exactly is going on here? Well, it looks like we've got a classic old world building that was in North Dakota. Although if you look at the Bismarck bird's eye view, and we'll take a look at it here in a second, I'll show you once we get done looking at the pictures exactly where the capital was located in relation to the rest of the city. It's quite fascinating. Yeah, exactly. It's a palace, Jamie. So, and for those of you that are logging on, please hit that like button, support the channel. I greatly appreciate it. So in any event, yeah, it's a palace and it's got this beautiful tower, and this was just a territorial capital. North Dakota was not a state yet. So we'll move on. This is another rendering of it. Capital in Bismarck. Yeah, exactly. That would probably be a better explanation for what happened to it. Not really sure. But in any event, there's a strange history with it because it evolved and eventually the tower and the domes were missing, as you'll see in the pictures. Oh, yeah, you guessed it right there, Adam. One step ahead, as always. Yes, another building lost to fire. So 1883, 1884, it served as the territorial capital of North Dakota. Then it became the proper state capital. Hey, T. Fetch, good to see you. But another rendering of it. Now, what's interesting is it is very difficult to find pictures of the Capitol in Bismarck, North Dakota without the tower. Or, excuse me, yeah, you can't find pictures with the tower. So it's as though it never existed, but it's shown in the rendering. So not quite sure what to make of it. But this is the state convention that they had in 1889, and this is in Bismarck as well. And while this is not the state capital, you see we've got some really beautiful buildings here. And strangely enough, very well built out for a very sparsely populated area. Yeah, that's right. Fire always makes it better, doesn't it? So not exactly sure what to make of this. Yeah, no clock. You're right. Absolutely right. That's a good question. And what was the original function behind buildings like this? You know, I mean, it's a very large building. Was it just to have the state constitutional convention in 1889? Where'd they get all the people? What was really going on? You know, we just really don't know. We're not sure. But we can see that there's a pretty mighty parade going on here. It almost looks like you have an army of occupation that's marching in 1889. I'd hate to think that's what's really going on. So yeah, that could be true there, Dwayne. Maybe that was hinting at something. The old Beavis and Butthead with all the times he said fire. He sure loved to say that, didn't he? So, in any event, so this is Bismarck during the state constitutional convention. Now, this is what the state capitol evolved to. So, just to go back 2 pictures, this is what it looked like. We had the tower, we had the domes on it, and now we look at it in an actual picture. Well, we don't have the domes and we don't have the tower. It's as though they were removed at some point in time. So it's hard to say what's going on with the original state capitol. That's a mystery in and of itself. And I'm not really sure what to make of it. I couldn't find anything on the official historical account. If anybody can find pictures or has access to pictures of the North Dakota state capitol with the tower and with the domes, let me know. And by all means, hit them up in the channel, email. Yeah, I wonder on that one, Old World Georgia. Georgia, is it covered in soot? It looks like it is, and then in other pictures it doesn't. So, hey, Kathy, good to see you. Yeah, it does look penciled in, doesn't it? Here, let me zoom in on that one. Good call out on that. And there's always something strange going on with these pictures, so maybe that's where your soot's going on, is you don't have it showing up so easily there. Yeah, Jamie, there's a lot of weird phenomena going on with this one, so that's a good one, Chassis. You know, maybe they should try to float that explanation. But we don't really get any explanation for what happened to the tower or the domes. They just arbitrarily removed them because it was the 20th century, or it was the early urban renewal in the 20th century. Not sure, don't know. So anyway, here's another picture of it, and it looks as though the building has evolved farther. And as far as we know, it's the same building. Now we're told that the east and or the north and the south wing were expansions that were done once it was declared a full state capital. So not really sure what to make of it. It's just one of those buildings that creates a lot of questions the more you look into it. Yeah, exactly, Adam. And that's something that I don't wonder myself is, you know, the construction company said, you want the tower dome removed? Why? Well, we need a tower dome. Where would we be without a tower dome? You know, you always need that dome to know that it's democracy. Yes, I know the United States is a constitutional republic, but the dome, and we sell democracy in any event. It's always something funny to consider. Well, yeah, it's always got to be on a nice hill, you know? And then you never have any problems with the nasty fire thing, right? Okay, let's go on to the next one. So this is the Albany City Hall, and I bring this up because of the rumors that H.H. Richardson was involved as an architect in the North Dakota State Capitol. And this is one of the buildings that he architected in Albany, New York. And we see it as a familiar style to it, and we've seen it in other cities and other explorations that we've done. Yep, there you go. You got it. Democracy. Although this was towerocracy in the 19th century. Hey, Slowburn, good to see you. Well, you know, hamster wheel cranes. You know, maybe you should change your name to Old World Hamster Wheel, Georgia. I know you like those cranes. Hey, Isabella, good to see you. Well, and you know, it's conflicting accounts. What's our real story? You know, H.H. Richardson was involved in the North Dakota State Capitol. He wasn't. It was just the firm out of Minneapolis, St. Paul. We just don't know. It's another one of those strange conflicting accounts. So, hey, through my lens, welcome. Good to see you. Yeah, and maybe that's what it was all about, you know, tower overseers. And that's where that saying comes from. You know, we have all these crazy sayings and we just don't know what to make of it. But in any event, let's look at another one. So this is the Allegheny County Courthouse and Prison. We looked at this in the Pittsburgh exploration, but yeah, H.H. Richardson involved with this one as well. And yeah, it's the same type of tower, but then we've also seen it with Union Station in St. Louis that looks exactly the same. And supposedly H.H. Richardson was not involved in that. So I don't know what to tell you on it. It's supposedly all the original on these buildings. Although in recent explorations, I have noticed that it seems like they've tried to replace some original stones or bricks with a facade. So that's a good question. And when you really go on the ground live, it's as though they're trying to confuse the picture or obfuscate it. That'll word again. So, hey, Noble, good to see you. Charlie, welcome. I appreciate that. So anyway, we'll move on. And yes, this is what happened to the original state capital, territorial capital of Bismarck in North Dakota. Yeah, and that's the thing about it, OIC. You can't tell from a picture, live exploration, nothing beats it. Nothing beats going up there and when you can really knocking on the stone or the masonry and seeing exactly what it is. So, I'm with you on that one, Adam. Yeah, Kathy, and I'm kind of surprised it wasn't our usual nemesis, E. Townsend Mix, since he was involved in pretty much everything in Wisconsin and Minnesota. So, not really sure what to tell you on that one, and not sure what to tell you on this one. We have missing towers, missing domes, and then we have a mysterious fire in the early 1930s that was all she wrote for the original state capital in Bismarck, North Dakota. Interestingly enough, you can find footage, actual video footage of this fire as it transpired. So, hey, Larry. Yeah, exactly. And maybe that's probably a better explanation for it than anything. It could be there was tech in it that burned up, or somebody didn't know exactly what they're doing. We always have these stories of the janitor in there that left some greasy rags, or they just decided to light a coal fire because it was really cold there, or some other ludicrous explanation, and we're just supposed to go with it. So, well, yeah, that's the thing to do. You got to stand out in front of there with your top hat on. Otherwise, how's it going to look really good? What's going to be enjoyable about it? Hey, look, there's a fire. Get your top hat, get your picnic. We'll sit out in front of it. Yeah, it's winter. It doesn't matter. Well, and that's another good call out there. What's our real story is who knows for sure. So, yep, actual video. I was tempted to put it into the live stream, but I thought, no, if you want to see it, it's easy to research and look it up. North Dakota State Capitol fire. It's easily accessible, but it doesn't really show you anything that's that enlightening, even more in the pictures. I just find it interesting that they were ready to take pictures of the camera and then ready to have a video camera there in the early 1930s. So, yeah, rat dropped a bong in a match, or the pigeon dropped a match. That's a good one. What was that? I think that was Indianapolis, wasn't it? For how we lost Tomlinson Hall, if memory serves. Everything catches fire. You got to be really careful. We just don't ever learn our lesson. Yeah, exactly. All right, so moving on to the next one. So here you can see the other building next to it, and something about the state capitol just looks off in all these pictures, that it looks like it's a different building. Not really sure. Yeah, the old unfortunate animal that kicked or hit something, and we just don't know of it. So, no, because why would you want video of construction or foundation establishment or digging out the foundation? Who would want to see that? That's boring stuff. So, in any event, yeah, let's go on to the next one. And so here's the last picture of it. And I just find it interesting that you have this line of cars here now. I guess that's how everybody parked and they were at work. Yeah, that's great. But what's that really signifying? Not sure. Don't know. But yeah. I don't wonder about that. Yeah, it does look like a dark smoke, and I'm sure they probably had some accelerant in that. Boy, you didn't waste any time, did you? Mr. Hamster Crane. Well, it could be. We certainly talk about that a lot. Yeah, that's a bit of a bait and switch. There's no doubt on that one. All right. So stand by. We're going to go on to the next series of pictures because now we've looked at the old state capitol. Let's look at the new state capitol here. Give me 1 second. All right. Sharing the screen. Okay, and here is the new state capital of South Dakota. Can everybody see my screen all right? Yeah, maybe, Adam. S'mores convention. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? And can everybody hear me okay? I want to make sure the audio is working well because I'm all over the place this last week. All right, good to go. You can see it and you can hear me okay. Awesome. Anyways, yeah, built in 1 hour. Well, actually, OIC, they say this took 2 years, and this is an Art Deco building. And here's the reality on this one. They say the fact, yeah, it looks like a Soviet building. They claim this is an Art Deco building, but this doesn't look like an Art Deco building to me. And here's a better view of it. And I mean, you don't see any of the decoration in the classic Art Deco. All right, thanks, everybody. I appreciate that. So, in any event, with the Art Deco building, what's exactly going on here? Did they just declare this an Art Deco building? Was this always there? Do we not know? Are we not sure? It really just depends. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Hey, CK Malcolm, good to see you. Yeah, and Matrix building. And that's the whole thing about it. You know, the original Capitol is just the same way. And the new Capitol, we're told it's an Art Deco building built in 1932 to 1934. And they just seem to be all ready to go with building up this new building. Yeah, and I agree. It's ugly. It looks Soviet. And there's nothing about this that reflects Art Deco. It's as though it's just something they declared as Art Deco. So what exactly is going on with this one? And here's one of the larger views of it. I mean, this doesn't even match the one that we see in Lincoln, Nebraska, or the other one in Louisiana. Hey, Watchman, good to see you. But they have all these stories. You know, they had to get the convicts to help remove the wreckage from the old Capitol building. They had to establish the stone. Yeah, it gives you that oppressive feeling, doesn't it? And it's interesting because they say that access to this one's a little limited. So, not really sure on it. Well, that could be. Cleaned off all the decorations like everything else. That's always a possibility. Yeah, that's where I am, M1. It does look like an Eastern European apartment complex. So, yep. Yeah, that's a good one. Well, and F in the chat, a lot of criminals are architects. That's true. Or did they really exist? We just don't know. And it's another one of those question things. So, yeah, that could be. Hey, Audio Cyrus, that's a good comment. Yeah, it looks perfectly gridded. You're absolutely right there, Y Superstars. And those are the true buildings that we often overlook because they wanted to give us that impression that all we'll see is the brutalist architecture, but that is very much not the case. So, well, they may have, Kathy. We just don't know. But, you know, this is definitely one of the classic oppressive buildings. Let's take a look at the interior. Oh, yeah. Does this really give you the feeling of Art Deco on the inside? Look at this. Very, very plain. I mean, definitely looking much more modern here. You know, we don't have any of our usual pillars. We don't have any of the beautiful artistic decorations. Yeah, exactly. First grader won the contest. Oh, I like that. Oh, good one. Frank Lloyd Wrong. Yeah, maybe he was the actual architect on this one. And I mean, you just don't see the usual trappings. It's as though you see some effort to try to make it look artistically stylish and pretty, but it just doesn't seem to be there and it doesn't seem to be reflective as much. So, yeah, and there could be something to that. You know, is that something to just really trap your soul or to give you that classic bureaucratic building feeling? I mean, that's really what this current state capitol reflects. And what's interesting is this is 1934, and I know it was John Levi who was looking at, I think it was a town or a city in Oregon that there were some pictures taken of in the late 30s. And he was trying to figure out exactly when this break occurred in the timeline, where we went from these beautiful, artistically inspired buildings to these very run of the mill brutalist architecture buildings. And we just don't know. Yeah, exactly. No, CK Malcolm, you just need a tower. You don't need a dome, just a tower now. Remember? Tower to see everything. So, yeah, it's pretty much the same thing when you look through it. That's a good comment there, too. I have. It's been a while, Jamie, since I've seen 13 Ghosts. And welcome aboard, everybody who's joined us. Please support the channel and hit that like button. I appreciate it. So let's go to the next picture here. Yes, here's your more classic meeting room for your state legislature. And, you know, this is what you'd expect them to operate in is something like this, you know, and You compare and contrast that with the other state assembly rooms that we've seen in the Iowa State Capitol, the Connecticut State Capitol. Yep, this just looks nice and plain and boring, and you got your fluorescent lights, and this just looks like a place that you're going to suffer in for hours on end, and I'm sure there's some legislatures that'll be upset at me for saying that, but you know what? I feel bad for them. Whoever has to sit through this, you just don't have the classic inspiration. Yeah, and that's the whole thing about it, and I think there's something to be said for that, the ominous feeling. You don't feel inspired, you don't feel the beautiful relaxation feeling that you get when you go into a lot of the other buildings, the older buildings. And so we can use this building, this state capitol in Bismarck, North Dakota, as a bit of a benchmark for how things have changed, where we were and what we've gone to. Now, what does it mean? What are the theories behind it? That's what we're trying to answer. Yeah, exactly. No, of course not. And why would they? Yeah, these are the great comments I love to see here on the live stream because, when you see that, yeah, exactly. Where's the ceiling detail? Hey, you got the lights. The lights are good enough for you. So, hey, Sharon, thanks for joining us. Welcome. Thanks for joining us from the UK. Yeah, I know it's a hard time for viewers in the UK. We'll probably look at changing up the live streams in the future. Well, and that's the weird thing about it, Tristan. And what you see is they tend to be built in the exact same location, which I always find interesting. Good point there, Juliana. You were all absolutely right. And I think this is a good way to start the presentation because the state capitol in North Dakota really shows what we've lost, what we used to be capable of. Now, what civilization did it? Is it a previous civilization? Is it overlapping timelines? Well, that's what I'm seeking to answer in these explorations. So, but if they just inherited the previous state capitol and then decided, okay, that's too nice of a building, we need to get rid of it, then let's go to this beauty. But now, interestingly enough, this is another building that's on the grounds, the Liberty Memorial Building, and you can see that this is more of your classic, what they'll call Renaissance Revival building. Hey, Guy in a Spice, welcome. You know what? And I think you're on that right there, F, in the chat. People accept this and they think that's all they deserve. They don't think they deserve buildings like we're looking at right now, the Liberty Memorial Building. So that's the whole thing that comes down about it. Now, what are we really looking at? Is this another building that we inherited? And if we go with that theory, then we have that. I mean, here you have your classic columns. You have your stones. Now, we don't really have a pediment on this one, which is interesting, but I mean, compared to the state capitol we're looking at, is there any real comparison? Yeah, exactly. They tried. But this is something that looks like it's a remnant from either previous civilization or the overlapping timelines theory, depending on which theory we're going with. So, again, creates a lot more questions than it actually answers. Yep. Yeah, exactly. The pediment. You're right on it, Juliana. Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's how it feels like. Anywhere in the States, you can wake up in Rome if you fall asleep. So, all right. Give me 1 second here. Let's get up the next series of images. So that was the North Dakota State Capitol, and that's our benchmark. So we're going to look at some buildings from post-World War II here next. And the post-war period in World War II, things get very intriguing. So 1 second here. Get back to sharing this screen. Okay, can everybody see that? Should have a nice big tower and a smaller building to the left of it. Let me know if you can see that. I'm zooming in on the tower right now. There are several of you who probably know what this building is and what town we're actually in right now. And hint, we're not in North Dakota anymore. We've gone east. We're in Rochester, Minnesota. All right. So the building on the right is one of our classic Art Decos that we've looked at before. It's the Plummer building. We looked at it in the alternate reality exploration. The building to the left right here was the original building of the Mayo Clinic. And I'm shooting from the hip here, but I think they call it the 1914 building because that's when they built it. So you can say anything anytime you want to. Open forum here, old world. Say anything you want about the wheel cranes at any point in time, too. Yeah, exactly. But the reason the Plummer Building's interesting is it's a bona fide Art Deco building. It's a building I tried to get inside in Rochester, Minnesota, and I could not. It's very limited access. You can take a tour of the third floor where you can see a doctor's office that's set up like it was in the 19th century, or at least what you'd think a doctor's office would look like in the 19th century. But the other access to the other floors is very difficult. You can see pictures of it, but it is a very beautiful, amazing building. And this building to the left of it was the original building of the Mayo Clinic. Now, it's intriguing to me, the whole story behind Rochester and the Mayo Clinic, because we say that's the best clinic in the world, yet the first hospital they had wasn't until 1889. It was just the brothers practicing on their own. But a lot of beautiful Art Deco in this building, and then a little bit more of a modest building here, but certainly something that's prettier than what we had with the one we just looked at. Well, and wait till you see what this looks like now. Okay, so this is a picture supposedly from the 1920s, or I'm sorry, the 1930s. And you need to see what it looks like now. Oh, yeah, there you go. Where's Sauron? The Eye of Sauron. He's here. Look out. All right, let's go to the next one. So this is another perspective of it, although something interesting going on up in the sky here. It almost looks like it was traced. I'm not sure. But you go to this area now, and the doorway is still there. And I've got some imagery of the doorway. So, and that's what I don't know, Juliana. And I'm not going to give up trying to gain some sort of access or get a look inside. So, but yeah, and that's the whole thing. You got the white sky again, and you know what exactly to make of that. And remember, this is the building that all the incredible Griffiths on it. You know, you can't see it too well in this image, but let's go to a next one. Okay, here we go. So this is what it looks like now. This is a contemporary photo. And you can see the beauty of this Art Deco building on the right, and then compare it with a post-war modern building on the left. And that's the supposed Mayo administration building. Well, they're both used for administration. But then you can see, you know, we got our friends, the Griffiths here. I mean, this entire tower is just completely decorated, classic Art Deco. Yeah, I think it may be a cropped image there, Jamie. Yeah, exactly. And it's so interesting when you consider the comparison between Rochester, Minnesota, and other areas, because this is a standalone Art Deco building on the right here, the Plummer Building. And then all these other buildings, it's as though they built them in Rochester, Minnesota to conceal the one Art Deco building. Good to see you, Inferno. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, you're right, Jamie. And that's probably the nicest griffins I think we've ever seen. So, well, it depends. They say 27, 28, but remember that could go deep in the ground, old world hamster current wheel cranes. So I'm not sure. Yeah, it's like they tried to do something to make the building on the left look like it blends in with the building on the right, but we can tell it doesn't, and it's not very hard. So ding, ding, ding. And that's exactly it, you know, and you can see what they're trying to show and what they're trying to get across with us. So on to the next one. Okay. So this is the county courthouse in Mower County, Minnesota. This is the county that's right next to Rochester. And Mower County is where Austin, Minnesota is, Spamtown. This was the courthouse that they built in 1884, coincidentally the exact same year that they built the state capitol, or the territorial capital as it was at that time, in North Dakota. So, yeah, right. Something tells me they'll have a vast response to that one there, Juliana. So, yep. And the story behind this courthouse is very interesting because so Austin was originally the county seat for Mower County. Some people pronounce it Mower County. Nobody can tell what the actual pronunciation is. Yeah, and there's a lot of unique aspects with this one. But so the story behind building this is they were going to lose the county seat status to a village called Ramsey in Mower County, Minnesota, or Mower County. I call it Mower. But what's really interesting about it is you look at this tower here. It's like you've got a double bell top tower. It has a cupola on top of it. You've got 4 ancillary towers around here. You've got little miniature pediments all across it. And who knows how deep it really goes into the ground. And the imagery that you look at, and it's probably very, very similar. The imagery that you look at, the bird's eye view of Austin, Minnesota, it shows this plot of land being completely empty, but it's surrounded by a downtown. Even in the 1870s, it is completely bizarre. I've got an upcoming exploration that's just on it. So, hey, Viking Gnome. Yeah, exactly. The four resistors around one collector. I'm with you on the Antiquitech interpretation. So, and it does look like a mix of styles, Juliana, and I think that's part of what kind of confuses us. But so 1884, they had to build this building quickly as the county seat so they wouldn't lose that status to Ramsey. Ramsey, the village north of Austin, Minnesota. Ramsey is just a golf course now. So obviously things didn't go too well for Ramsey. Yeah, big keyhole. But in any event, so this building endured from 1884 to the 1960s, and they added a couple pieces to it. But then, for reasons unknown, they tore it down. And this is what's left, the Moore County Courthouse Contemporary. Yeah, you do wonder. And yep, it's all in the same area. That's true. But this is what we've got now. So here's your post war building that's so beautiful and just so inspiring. And what are you going to do about it? You know? It's another one of those things that it just causes you to shake your head in disgust because you see what a beautiful building we had. And I've tried to interface with some of the local historians and even some older people that are still around in Austin, Minnesota, and they cannot give me a good reason why they tore down the old beautiful courthouse in the 1960s. They seriously cannot. So why do we have this box-like building? Here's where it gets even stranger. So the box-like building that you're looking at, the Brutalist architecture from the 1960s, this was just supposed to be an annex to the original courthouse in Moore County, Minnesota. But they left it with this, and then they tore down the courthouse for no good reason. Yeah, good one. Oh, that's a good one there, Jason. Yeah, and that's a lot how it functions right now. And talking to some of the local law enforcement, law enforcement officers in Austin, Minnesota, that's exactly what they told me. Is yeah, it's just a barracks basically on the inside. So what to do about it? But this is a good example of what we're left with. You know, so you go from this kind of beauty, where you've got your incredible dome and tower for a county that's not that large, that's known for being the home of the Hormel Food Corporation. And then you go to this, your barracks type government center. And that's what we've got right now. So what's that? Oh, hold on. I got to get that one up. You got it, Juliana. Yeah, that's where you get married if you want to get divorced within a year. Well, to be fair, they do have them on the other side, but you can tell almost as though they were thrown in there as an afterthought. So who knows what's going on with this one. So, yep. You don't need a tower. You just need your horrible box because, you know, this is the United States in the 20th century, in the 21st century. We just need a box for government building. And then this is the Rock County Courthouse in Rock County, Wisconsin. When I did the exploration of Janesville, I just decided I'd pull this one up. So yeah, here's more of your beautiful brutalist architecture. And so this is over in Wisconsin. But so you can see this is everywhere. It's not just in Minnesota. But I guess at least you can say it looks like they had a building design from the ground up to kind of try to be a courthouse. But yeah, this looks like another horrifying building to be stuck in. Or as Juliana said, a building you get married in if you want to get divorced in within a year. Oh, yeah, I know. That's where a lot of the exploration started. Well, you know, and I don't know, you know, what we should actually call it, because if we start associating names with certain places, we have to be careful because we really don't know what the baseline style is. Maybe there's just other names that we associate with it. But, you know, decide what you want to. I've got my own opinion on what things are, and I present that in theories. But, you know, if you feel that it reflects something, then by all means, let me know. So good question there, Larry. Yeah, somehow I got a feeling that's not going to happen on that one, Jason. You never know, though. Might have some other reasons why we need to do that. So, and then here's just another one of your classic post-war resident buildings that I just like to look at, and you know the exact location. Do you really care? I know I don't, but this just gives you an idea of what we've settled with now. So, yep, very nondescript, very dress right dress. I mean, this is what you'd expect kind of the thing to look like. Yeah, that's a good point. You know what? I think you're on there, M1. It does look like a big giant CPU tower. And then here's the Gonda building. So this is the mainstay building of the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. So think back to the Plummer building, and then this is what you get now. Just this really Plain, horrifically ugly building. What's this really saying? I'm not sure. I don't know. It's really bizarre. But yeah, this is where you could go be a patient at the Mayo Clinic if you're so inclined. Which stuff, Jamie? Light me up here. Yeah, Cube Life. That's a good one. Let me look back here. Energized concrete. Is that what you're referring to there, Jamie? I have heard about that. I'm going to look to do a new energy technology video coming up here pretty soon. So these are great comments, all of you, though. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true enough there too, Juliana. Well, there's all kinds of strange accounts with that one, Sharon, and that's probably an exploration all itself. So, and those are all good comments across the board. And then here's another one of the admin buildings at the Mayo Clinic. But don't worry, we've got this little figure here to remind you that you are going to the Mayo Clinic to heal. You're going there to heal, and it's going to be a grand old time. Yeah, easy fix construction. That's exactly right. I agree with you on that one. Through my lens, it is definitely not inspiring. But that's what we got today at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. Hey, just a little note for y'all. So Interstate 90 runs through Austin and Rochester. They're more or less adjacent cities on the interstate. Austin, Minnesota, a town of about 27,000 people, has 7 exits off that interstate. Rochester has 2, the Mayo Clinic, and it has a population of over 100,000. But, you know, don't ask to explain that one. And then I just thought I'd throw in the good old World War II barracks from the United States Army because, you know, these were buildings that they were building quickly in the 1940s. So, yeah, I don't know about that one, but it's definitely a questionable aspect, especially when you can't gain access to certain buildings. It definitely creates a lot of questions. Oh, that's coming up, Scott. Don't you worry. And the whole development of it across the United States. Well, thank you very much, Old World Hamster Wheel Cranes, Eric's Cool Cars. I greatly appreciate it. Well, and the funny thing is, all these World War II barracks that are all wooden buildings that you would expect to be susceptible to that have never burned down. I mean, they still use a lot of them in training to this day in renamed military posts in the United States. And if there's anybody who served, I know that's a sore topic that they renamed a lot of the military posts, especially in the southern portion of the United States, what used to be the quote unquote Confederate States of America. So, yeah, exactly. Okay, so that concludes this portion of the presentation. So let's just go and take a look at some Brutalist buildings. Now I know, but you gotta see it for comparison and contrast. All right, going up to share my screen. Yeah, that's right. Only masonry burns. I'm with you on that one. Okay, can everybody see my screen now? Yeah, asbestos. Oh, you're right, Kathy. And you'll see a lot of those buildings at Fort Knox, too. That's where they filmed the movie Stripes. Dead on, Isabella. All right, perfect. So we'll just take a quick look at some brutalist architecture buildings here. Oh, yeah, here's one of my favorite ones. They describe the vessel as cubed shaped. The building is cubed shaped, and it's designed to completely suck the life out of you. Resistance is futile. That's what I think of when I see a building like this. Yeah, not sure what to make of it, but that's what we went to, 1950s and onward. Yeah, doesn't it just make you think that, Albie Belt? I mean, that's what I think. Yep, these are all the finest examples of brutalist architecture, 1950s onwards, and you're all saying it so well. Ugly, nasty, obey, get your shirt on. Yeah, that's right. Oh, you might be surprised if you knew where this one was. I am not going to reveal the location, though, on any of these brutalist architecture buildings because I don't want anybody to think I'm speaking poorly of any of the cities that they're located in. So the whole point being is that you'll see them all over the land. Every nation has them. Yes, the United States did them too. Oh, yeah. I'm on with that one. Yeah, somehow I don't think it does. Marble staircases inside. Well, you might have some plastic staircases or, faux wood. Well, and it's funny you say that. I mean, if we find the right types of concrete, it can work really well. But to actually have that ability, yeah. I mean, what we have now, it's certainly not. It's a good question there, Adam. And we don't really know for sure. They clearly had some sort of HVAC and they have indications of it. And we can even find some old world houses that had full HVAC with both cooling and heating. But oh, yeah, you look hard enough and you'll see them. And it's almost as though it's part of the transition. So, hey, Hendo, good to see you. Yeah, that's exactly right. Oh, yeah, that's right. Fort Chaffee. I forgot about that. Yeah, sometimes I block that place out of my mind. Not that I was ever there. We don't need to talk about that. Oh, here we go. And again, I'm not going to tell you where this one is because I don't want anybody to think that I'm hating on any nation, okay? Because I'm not going to do that. But yeah, doesn't this look beautiful? Portland cement. That's right. Haunted? Yes, definitely. It reminds me of the stacks of trailers from Ready Player One. I think that was the movie. If you haven't all figured it out, I don't watch too many modern movies. So, yeah, exactly. Okay, Chassis. It's okay if you say it. Yep. Yeah, you're all right. That's where it is. No one would want their spirit consigned to this, right? Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Oh yeah, here's a beauty. I mean, this just looks like something out of a science fiction dystopia movie when you look at something like this. Uh, but yeah, I'm just not sure how or why we went from Art Deco to this. And keep in mind, this change only took about 20, 15, 10 years. It really depends how you look at it, where you look at it, and you're not sure what to make of it. But you see it all over the place, and this really reflects it quite well. So, in any event, yeah, you might be right through my lens. Maybe it was intended to be a drainage wall. Kathy, I think you've had that comment quite a bit tonight, and yeah, that's how I feel when I start to look at this enough. Oh, good one. Yeah, Judge Dredd building makes sense. Oh, here's another good one. Yeah, look at this beauty. Now, doesn't this just inspire you? Wouldn't you just want to go to work or live in this every day? Yeah, I know I would. Yeah, good one there, Laura. Flood walls, bunkers, and I appreciate that. Thank you. But yeah, that's what we get, and this is what we have now: brutalist architecture buildings. So just keep that in mind when you're comparing that with Art Deco and just how fast that transition happened. And sometimes that's how it feels, Sharon Alford, is it feels like a nightmare. We're just not sure. Yeah, even that would seem like a brutal, beautiful, artistically inspired building in comparison, Larry. So, uh, yeah, exactly. All right, so that's it for the brutalist architecture buildings. Now, I'm not going to end this presentation by having you look at brutalist architecture buildings, okay? That's just not a good note to end on. We need to have a more positive note. So, give me 1 second here. We'll pull up the last series of images that we have. And we're actually going to go to a place that I haven't done an exploration on yet, but I intend to. I think Old World did it. Old World Exploration, he did Atlanta. So we're going to go to Atlanta. Okay, can everybody see my screen? Okay, look, Kathy, I'm trying to stop you from doing that. Okay, just look at the screen right now. Okay, we've got some relief. There you go. Thanks, Jamie. You can see it now. Something a little better, a little more aesthetically pleasing. Yeah, exactly. So this is the Healy building. This is in Atlanta, built in 1913. And the exterior on it's kind of hard to see. It doesn't really show so well, but this is one of those beautiful interiors. So just keep that in mind. What we just looked at was all post World War II, and now you're looking at something that was from 1913. Yeah, dingo dango, natural lighting. Exactly right. And you see it here with the window and the ceiling, but then also look at all the smaller bricked in windows and just some of the beautiful, beautiful combinations that you have of shapes and geometry in this. And then you even have it with the floor. I mean, no detail is spared in any of these buildings. So yeah, you're probably right, Viking Gnome, as always. Well, that was when Sherman was confused. You know, maybe that was when he was marching up to Chicago or Boston, you know. He got a little lost. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that looks good. I'd love to see that. Let me know when you post that. So, and there's lots of great stuff over there too. Well, technically. Hey, thanks, Sharon. I really appreciate that. But yeah, this is what we used to have in 1913, you know, and just compare and contrast this with what we were just looking at. And let's look at some more details of it. So, you know, in some of these pictures, you can see it a little bit better, but just all the shapes and the construction materials and the way it's lit and the beauty behind it, it really gives you that feeling that this is something that someone designed to really be appealing, to really reach the human soul. Yeah, maybe. And that's the whole point right there. It does transport us somewhere, not just outside, but from within. That's what these buildings used to be able to do. You know, and here's a close up of the ceiling. I mean, look at all this detail. And you think about it, 1913 and everything else that went along with it. Yeah, many shapes and harmoniously put together. And how did they do it? Who did it? Why did the change really happen? Yeah, well, you know what? You're on, Larry, because we're told that's what everybody said. It was easy peasy. But it's that kind of comparison and contrast that we see that we realize that something has changed fundamentally. Now, we may not be aware of the timeline, we may not be aware of the how behind it, but we can sense that it happened. We can see it with our eyes and we can feel it intuitively. And I think this building really tells that story, and it tells it very well. So let's go on to the next picture. And here you're looking at the hallway in Healy Hall or Healy Building. And here you see it with the golden elevator doors. And, you know, just compare what we looked at in the North Dakota State Capitol. And this is only built 20 years earlier, according to the official timeline that we have. But what does it really mean? Yeah, modernism. That's exactly right. And that's the whole point behind it, Adam, is it did change fast. And what we're looking to posit in our theories is why did it change fast? Is it because we inherited many buildings, some were destroyed, and then they built replacement buildings? Or is it some sort of overlapping of timelines? Is it some sort of alternate reality? Did someone flip the switch on something they weren't supposed to? Is it just something we're manifesting in our minds? Ah, yes, someone had to say my favorite word, cymatic. You were correct. And I think there's a lot to be said for that chassis, that cymatics did help build them. Yeah, the doors and everything else behind it. I think I got one more of this. Yeah, here's another image of it. But look at the little details right here, even in the ceiling and where the ceiling meets the wall, and then above the door, everywhere. It's as though they spared no expense, no time. I think those are stars. Since you asked about that on the ribs, yeah, I think those are stars. But just an incredible construction. Well, that could be. And it could be something else in the history that we're not aware of. It's just an interesting amalgamation of styles. So, well, don't worry, Hamster Wheel Crane, Eric's Cool Cars. I've got an exploration coming up of Atlanta. There's no way I could miss out on Atlanta, but this is just really a preview of it, if you will. All right, so we've got one more set of images that we're going to look at. And yes, this continues on with that preview, so give me 1 second here. And again, I'm going to leave you off on a good note, okay? I'm not going to have you left with those brutalist architecture buildings, okay? I would not do that to anybody. Okay, let's see here. Share screen. And can everybody see this beauty? Yeah, it might be our fleur de lis. Hey, and I don't need Christopher Lambert coming on the live stream and laughing at me again, okay? That was bad enough in the New Orleans video. All right. Does anybody know what this building is? I have a feeling that Mr. Hamster Wheel Cranes knows exactly what this building is. Hey, Sarah, welcome. Thanks for joining us. that's right. The Kurgan. Clancy Brown, awesome actor. Well, and it's funny, and you can say it with music, with entertainment. It seems to be that there's a degradation in a lot of different things, but buildings is where it's very noticeable. So, all right, this is the Atlanta City Hall. Yep, Isabel had it. The Atlanta City Hall. All right, does anybody know when this was built? I'll give you a hint. It wasn't built in the 1950s. Yeah, it's a good guess there on that one, Sharon. Does have a temple on the top, doesn't it? Good old Art Deco building, and leave it to Atlanta to get it right. Oh, that's a good one. Flower de la Ice. I'll have to remember that one. All right, so this is what the front entryway of the Atlanta City Hall looks like. And of course, you compare and contrast that with that state capitol that we saw in North Dakota. That was built at about the exact same time frame, early 1930s. And yet, how do you explain the difference here? You just look at the artistic comparison with the entryway and the stairs and, like even the base here. Hey, how'd you guess? Yeah, that's what they say, 2 years. Good to see you, dear for you. Which buildings are you referring to, Chassis? These ones, or are you referring to the Brutalist or the one that we're looking at right now, the Atlanta City Hall? Fleur de Lis? Are you sure? I have to have some fun with something, and oftentimes I have fun with pronunciation. Yeah, I'm with you, Chassis, and that's a building that I didn't recognize at first, and I'd been to Atlanta many times. Now, granted, and at the time I had different eyes, so let's take a look. So this definitely gives the feeling of a true Art Deco building. It's very different than what we looked at to start the presentation with the North Dakota State Capitol in Bismarck. So yeah, just completely different. Artistic architecture from top to bottom or bottom to top, however you want to say it. All the little symbols that are in the windows going all the way up to the top, beautiful tower. Yeah, good one there, Josh. Doors much larger doorways. You got it. It's a good call out. And here's a better view of that. I mean, look at that. That's a very good call out right there. Just to give you that impression. Yeah, you've got all kinds of space and you've got all kinds of things that you're doing. Well, and that's what we're going to take a look at, Hendo. And there's a lot of mysteries in Georgia. I mean, really, you could do an old world focus on Georgia if you wanted to. So that could be, Chassis. That could be. Well, and there's a lot of possibility with that too through my lens. And one of the things I'm going to look at is some of the great houses that the Cherokee were said to have built in Georgia, the mansions that they talked about that they had to abandon. So yeah, it does kind of look that way, doesn't it, Sarah? Let's take some other looks at it. So back up to the tower of it, and again, you can tell using your intuition and feeling, and then always ask the question, can I get married in this building and will my marriage last over a year? Oh boy. Did Carl blast in on you? Yeah, well, you tell him he's not going to get paid his apple pie for this week. Maybe next week. Evo Shandor. Can't get away without a Ghostbusters reference, can we? Yep. So here's the interior. Yeah, City Hall. Check this beauty out. Yeah, I mean, this is where you can just see having the wedding ceremony right here, just off the stairway and these doors. Yeah, I don't wonder. Yeah. Well, and there's some indications for that, or maybe some sort of combined peoples that we don't know about. Well, fair enough. It's all good. It's just another one of those questions that you can ask. Yeah, exactly. It's Very royal interior for a city hall. You've got pillars with decorated tops. You got the beautiful ceiling. Every doorway is decorated, even the stairway and the banister. And we haven't even talked about the floor. You can look in every direction and just be utterly impressed and just completely blown away by this building. And you know something, Chassis? I'm not wondering if you're onto something with that timeline overlap there, because I do not remember this either. But I may have missed it going through Atlanta because, like I said, I had a different set of eyes when I went through Atlanta the last time. So just not sure, just don't know. Yeah, exactly. And, these kind of buildings, though, you compare and contrast Art Deco to Brutalist to what we have now. And the Gonda building that we looked at in Rochester, Minnesota, clearly, I mean, that was built in the late 90s, early 2000s. And you see that just doesn't compare to this. That doesn't compare really to anything. Heck, I can make the argument it doesn't even compare with the quote unquote hybrid building that we started the presentation with, the current state capitol of North Dakota. So, what's exactly going on? Hard to say. Yeah, Atlantis is always a good one. And a good call out there, Kathy. It was a great depression, great for architecture depression. Obviously, that's what it really meant. So, there may be quite a few, actually. Well, and if you actually talk to an architect, see if an architect will tell you anything about Art Deco or artistic style. You can actually get a lot more information about it historically from someone who majored in art on a university than from an architect, which I find very interesting. Ding, ding, ding. You're probably right on that one, Jamie. Oh, yeah. Maybe at some point it was, Chassis. Maybe at some point it was. So it's just hard to say with all the buildings and all the different styles that we see. See if I got any more of this one. Okay, it's the same one. Okay, and then just looking up at the pillar. But I mean, just something as detailed as this, looking up at the top of the pillar and just having the ability to put that kind of detail, that sort of time. Yeah, exactly. And you're seeing that a lot more. Well, and that could be the explanation if we go with the one timeline, or loss of funds, loss of inspiration and will. That's all entirely possible. I don't discount that, but it just seems like it happens a lot, and there's a lot of conflicting accounts that go along with it. So what's really going on? It's hard to say, and that's what we're trying to figure out. Well, and you're on for it right there, Audie. Details for who or what was the purpose, what was the function, why would you bother doing all this unless it has some sort of function? Yeah, and I agree with you on that one. So, well, and we have those accounts where they just got those buildings up in record amount of time. So, yeah, and you just see it here, Atlanta City Hall and the Healy building. So, in any event, that's all the images that we have for the presentation. We'll just go back to our start here. But what are your thoughts on the comparison between Art Deco and Brutalist? I mean, what's the explanation? Why did we go from one style to the other? Why did it happen so quickly? Why did we lose our capability to build what we think of as palatial construction? Great term there, Jamie. And why did we go to something different? And that could be a good point, Scottish Tart. Knowledge was lost when catastrophes happened. Was it all built for nobles, or was there different groups of people? So, you know what? And I think that could be the best reason of all, OIC. It spoke to people. There seemed to be more of a balance between people in their society. And that's something a lot of us intuitively feel. And a society that wasn't there just to be served, it was a society that also served the individual. I know that's one of my recurring themes that you see, but when I look at it and when I look at this other civilization, that seems to be the perspective that we have. It was a balance. People worked to the society and society worked to the people. Yeah, exactly. And it seems like if you try to mention it, that's exactly what's going to happen. So, yeah, and spiritual power is hidden in modern science. And I think there's a lot of inclinations for that. Well, are they? I mean, who are the best engineers? We don't know. I mean, all of us, none of us. You really want to know the answer to that question? Hey, as somebody who's been on the channel a while, just want to type up the answer to what I used to teach. You might find it kind of comical. It is kind of comical. I'll give you a hint. It wasn't art. Well, that's what it boils down to. And that's what we want to see here. Oh, yeah, good old world hamster wheel cranes. He's got it. Yep, that's what I used to teach. I did have a little bit of a specialty to a military background. You are correct. But a lot of other different things. P, nah. Yeah, and that's exactly what it boils down to. So, but in any event, it was how I got into this research. I was grading thesis papers, and I just happened to ask the question, wait a minute, how do we know what someone who lived 1,000 years ago is really thinking? And then I really started to ask the question and started to wonder what was going on and why we have all these conflicts. And then when you really start to examine this, you see that exactly how it is. So, well, the unfortunate truth is we can really say that about any geographic location. It just seems like whenever you're in one geographic location, you'll see on the news that this geographic location that you're looking at going to is terrible and you shouldn't go to it. Then you actually go to it and you find out it's really not that bad. So you're trying to figure out exactly what they're talking about. But I know. Underwater basket weaving. Yeah, that's a good one. All right. So going to wrap up the live stream a little bit early, still on the ground doing some explorations and looking to get some more live action footage here and some upcoming videos to share with you all. Going to revisit some areas too, and I've been looking to do that. I just got a little held up here trying to find some answers to some mysteries that I've discovered, and I'm going to keep sharing that as we go on with the videos. But definitely appreciate the turnout and the participation for the live stream. I mean, this is what it's all about. I don't know all the answers. I don't know anybody who knows all the answers, but if we get it out there and we share it, we can definitely get a lot closer. Yeah. And you know what, there, Hindo? That's what a lot of people rely on. I just want a memorized answer. And I'll probably be making a video about that where we talk about the whole concept of research. Now, people love to tell you, well, just do more research and then you'll think like I think. And I had other professors who told me that all the time. You're just not doing enough research. I've already heard that one a million times. And that's not deterred me from continuing to focus on this. And if someone's trying to stop me from doing something, then it tells me I should probably keep doing it. So, maybe somebody wants to switch up their tactics and tell me I am going the right direction. And then maybe I'll change directions. I don't know. Well, my pleasure. And, that was certainly not an easy one to do and not an easy one to publish because there are certain videos that, you can get you in a little hot water, but, sometimes you got to skirt the line. Yep. Well, I greatly appreciate that. And I appreciate everybody being here. And Adam Baum, always good to see you. Always good to see everybody. So we'll continue the on-the-ground explorations, and as always, I will post these pictures on the Reddit, on the Lucius Aurelian subreddit, so you can look at them there and examine them. And I'll repeat my request. If anybody can find a picture of the original North Dakota State Capitol with the tower on it, I would love to see it. So if you're around there, if there's some archives that I missed, I try to look as best I can, but I'm looking in several areas at the same time. So it's not to say it's not out there or someone hasn't brought it up. Well, you know what? And that could be true too. So, all right. Well, no guarantees on a live stream next Saturday. I'm going to try to make it happen, but if not, we'll definitely be one the following Saturday. And I appreciate you all for joining us. Thanks, Mariana, and welcome aboard as a member. And you should enjoy the membership content coming out tomorrow for Explorers and Prime Explorers. Got a nice little cathedral/church that I looked at. So, well, you know what? That's high praise there, especially when the cat likes it. All right. Well, I hope you all have a great weekend, and I really appreciate everybody being here. And as always, explore yourself, ask questions, and you will restore the world. Thank you very much.